Teacher, tell me what's my lesson. Look right through me, look right through me. And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. The people run in circles, it's a very, very...
There it is. Check it out, guys. That is so exciting. Incredible.
Hello there, you bunch of satanic witches and wizards, every single one of you. Now, I know that you might think I'm joking, but I ain't joking. Every single one of you are practicing it. Okay? Every single one of you out there are involved in it, whether you like it or not. And I just want to try and clear it up for you. Anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I had a hangout the other night where we discussed, you know, there was claims and allegations being made about me being a Satanist, Mason Satanist, whatever. So I wanted to make this wee video. You know, a couple of comments have kind of, you know, provoked me into making this. And I just want to clarify it, and I want to help people to see that they are involved in these practices, whether they like it or not, and that the buzzwords and the terminologies are being used against you, and they are being used to divide your mind so that you're battling with yourself internally. Okay, so when I talk about what, you know, we hear this word satanic, Satanism, satanic. For me, it's nonsense, okay? And it has been misrepresented and used deliberately, you know, in a negative light, and misrepresented deliberately in a negative light. So I'm going to start just here with a comment just to point some of these kind of things out before I explain why I am saying that every one of you are involved in practicing these things, because you are, right? So this was from a chap called Dean. Del, you're normally on point, mate. To dismiss ritual sacrifice and such with a know-all attitude is dangerous, if not more, than claiming these things. So right away I can see these misunderstandings and these buzzwords that people are, you know, misinterpreting. Before we get to why I'm calling you a practicing Satanist or a witch or a wizard, I just want to highlight these kind of things here. So look, the word ritual. Now, ritual or a ritual practice, you know, don't let that sway you into thinking, you know, oh look, let me first and foremost, I want to clear this up. See, anybody who is slicing a fucking goat or sacrificing a child to some altar, to some invisible being, to me they're mentally deranged and they're criminals, right? That's it. No some other fancy word. Mentally deranged criminals. End of story, right? And the full force of the law should be brought upon them, right? That's it. So, ritual. Everybody practices rituals. You know, a ritual is simply something that is like a repetitive pattern, something that you do repetitively. So, people who get up in the morning, they have a cup of tea, they have a smoke, they go to the toilet, they come back, they have a cup of tea, and then go on with their day. That's a ritual practice, okay? And they can have ritual symbols or tokens in there. So what brand of toilet roll you use, what brand of tobacco you smoke, what brand of tea you drink, these are part of your ritual. Okay, now that is pretty much it, right? And that, you know, for people gives them comfort. They're used to that pattern. That's their ritual behaviour. Sacrifice is another loaded term when we're talking about this type of topic. You know, sacrifice can be in different contexts. So I can sacrifice some selfish, you know, desire for a better motorcycle because I know that I can't get the better motorcycle because I have to have money for my children. So there I'm sacrificing my own selfish desires and wants because I'm taking responsibility and applying it somewhere else. So, you know, people are confusing these words, you know, and somebody like this who's, you know, misusing it, obviously, or misunderstanding who I am and what it is I'm actually trying to say. And the reason that I wanted people to go and look at these things like Satanism, the Satanic Bible, is so that you have a better understanding of them rather than listening to hearsay. You know, if you know you're having an opinion on it and you don't know the material, what is your opinion? It's bollocks, right? You can't have that opinion until you understand it. So anyway, I'm not going to keep it, you know, too long. I just want to make this, and if anybody is interested in discussing it further, you know, we can do that at one of the live events. I just want to clear some of this up to show people the hypocrisy that is in the world and why people are practicing Satanists or using these very tools. So we'll talk about lesser magic here, you know, which is attributed to Levian Satanism or the types of philosophy.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
The flat Earth model, all of the heavenly bodies are orbiting the magnetic center of the known universe, which is fixed at our North Pole, the magnetic center. Since we live on a flat Earth, a compass needle will always be attracted to the center of the world, not the top of the globe. This attraction to the center is apparent even when in the southern hemisphere. So the heavenly celestial bodies are orbiting us, and we're stationary. This means there's some type of force causing these bodies to be weightless and orbit us. I think the ancient builders were probably aware of this principle, and it explains how they were able to build structures such as the pyramids. If you're familiar with the Coral Castle down in Florida, a single man built a castle made of extremely heavy rocks very quickly and with almost no help or machinery. He never disclosed his method, but I suspect it had something to do with this magnetic energy that causes the moon and the sun to orbit us. Indeed, I believe that Nikola Tesla was aware of this force, and so he was able to invent free wireless energy and wireless communications, but more importantly, wireless energy, well before the internet was even close to being theorized. So even newfangled zero-point energy fields, which are being researched by very fringe scientists, seems to be akin to this electromagnetic force, which is causing these celestial bodies to orbit us. Who knows? Also, the relationship with the Earth and the Moon is demonstrably of the electromagnetic variety, and certainly nothing like gravity would explain, without all the major coincidences, of course. So, if the Moon is orbiting us in response to an electromagnetic phenomena, it makes a lot of sense that one face of the Moon would be attracted to the face of our world, and that would perfectly explain that one face being ever present. Furthermore, since the Moon is a lot closer in the flat Earth model, it makes sense that its electromagnetic pull would affect the world's oceans. If you take a balloon and rub it against your hair, and then take that statically charged balloon near a running tap of water, the water will bend. This proves that our tides could indeed be caused by the Moon's electromagnetic field, or possibly a static electric charge, but not a gravity field. Indeed, if the Moon were close enough to pull on our oceans with its measly gravity, The much greater Earth gravity should have pulled the moon into our world a long time ago. This proves the conventional model is totally wrong and not just unlikely. And it proves there's a logically sound, verifiable alternative to the conventional accepted model. At any rate, on the flat Earth, gravity is not necessary. Gravity was a theory dreamed up to explain why we're not flung from the surface of the Earth at 1,000 miles per hour. Since our world is demonstrably not spinning, then we don't need gravity in our model. What goes up must come down is a law of physics. Gravity is a theory necessary only in the globe model. In the flat Earth model, what goes up must come down is explained sufficiently by the simple laws of density and buoyancy. Lighter, less dense objects find their way up, while heavier, denser objects find their way down. It's the natural order of things, and there's no need for gravity to explain it. If you take a beach ball filled with air, for example, and try to hold it underwater, you'll notice that it's difficult to hold it underwater, and it gets more and more difficult the deeper you get. When you let go of the ball, it will race to the surface of the water. So I suppose we should believe that the beach ball is somehow an anti-gravity device. It's beneath the water with all that pressure above it, plus all the gravity, in quotes, gravity pushing down on it. The beach ball should remain underwater according to the theory of gravity. However, it invariably races to the top because it's simply acting in accordance with the natural laws of buoyancy or density. Same thing with a hot air balloon. It's about temperature, density. The North Star Polaris is indeed a proof that the model is wrong and not just a crazy coincidence that needs to be explained in the globe model. You simply cannot argue the North Star could maintain such an alignment for any duration given our arbitrary, wobbly North Pole in your model. The North Star is simply at the very top of the celestial bodies orbiting above us and has the tightest path around the center. That's the only explanation for how it remains fixed in alignment with our North Pole forever, or for any duration whatsoever.
So what is lesser magic? Lesser magic is simply using your will, your intent to affect other people to bring about, a result that you desire. Okay? Now, you, me and everybody else are employing these things every single day. It's not the tools, it's not the fact that we employ these tools that's the negative, it's the outcome, it's your intent and what you're trying to bring about that for me is the problem. Okay, so if you go to your partner and you want some loving attention from your partner, you know that in your mind, you know what you're wanting to gain from it, so you will say certain things or act out certain things in order to get that reaction from your partner, like you look beautiful, you smell lovely, I love you, and then you may get the reaction that you're looking for. Now people look at that as that's warm and wholesome and good, which is fine, whatever. I can also use the very same tools to put somebody down, make them feel bad, make them feel guilt, so I can say to my partner, I hate you, you smell horrible, you're ugly, blah blah blah. Whatever my desire is, whatever my intent is, I'm going to achieve that by the content, the method that I use. The tools are there, we employ them every single day. Okay, regardless of whether you believe that or not, that's a fact. You do employ it every single day, right? You might not be aware of it. Maybe by me discussing it here, you will see it, right? So when we talk about lesser magic, that's what we're talking about. You're using your will in order to bring about events or manipulate people into certain situations that you want to see happening. Like, look at my journey. I openly expressed this from the beginning. These people, the elites, the authorities, the rulers, whatever you like, they are using these tools to bring about a world that they like, that they want, right? And I said this from the very beginning, we have to employ the very same things, no shy away from it, not get into a mindset of, I am holier than thou, some saviour will come and save me from all this horrible nastiness and all I have to do is sit here on my high horse, passing judgment because I am holier than thou. That's not going to get you anywhere. All that's going to do is put you in a situation of being passive, ignorant, lazy, while other people who know these things achieve what they want to achieve in the world, regardless of whether you think it's good, evil, whatever. They are using these methods and these tools to bring about what they want to see happening. Right? So you need to understand that, and if you understand it, you can then combat it, you can stand up against it, you can start to affect the world in the way you want to see, what you want to see happening. So for me, you know, I said that from the beginning, we employ these same tactics, and I have done so throughout this whole journey. You know, I've spoke about times when I've invoked anger and passion because I want to instill that in other people in regards to specific topics or certain scenarios. I feel as if people should be standing up and being aggressive towards these things because they're detrimental to the individual. Okay, they are oppressive to the individual. So I want people to have a fuck you, no nonsense attitude. So I walk that walk, I put that out there, hoping to invoke it in other people. So I'm being a Satanist, I am being manipulative. Okay, now I understand that and I embrace that because I'm not shy and I'm not scared to admit it and realise these things. But on the other hand, you have these do-gooders who profess that they are God's children, spiritual guru type things that want to, you know, chastise people like me while they sit there employing the very same tools that we're using, calling other people satanic while they sit on some fucking high horse professing that they are, you know, Lord the God type characters, and that's the way you have to be, which is fucking ridiculous. Right? They can live in ignorance if they like. Right? I don't want to live in ignorance. I would rather understand things for how they are. Okay? Understanding takes you further, understanding moves you on, it evolves you within your mind, okay, so that you're not stuck in some rut thinking that you've got a grasp on things and that you're waiting on some saviour or some higher entity or some higher power to come and sort it all out, and you're going to get your wee gold star just because you sat there and did fuck all. Right? That's not the way of it. Right, the way of this world is, and this do as thou wilt is an observation of this reality. Okay, that's how this reality works. You do as you will, okay, and you take the consequences of whatever it is your will may be. Right, now if your will, as I say, is to affect people in what we would subjectively term as nice, positive, good, then, you know, go and achieve it. If your will is to, you know, suppress people, oppress people, murder people, blah blah, your will is still going to achieve that. That's what gets things done. Okay? Regardless of what you, the observer, view of it, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the very tools and how to get things happening in reality. Right? Know your ideology or your ideal scenario of a utopia.
Einstein was once asked how it felt to be the smartest man alive, and Einstein's reply was, "I don't know. You'll have to ask Nikola Tesla." So now I'm going to go over, talk to Nikola Tesla, and see what he has to say. He tells me today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments. And they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. I mean, how true could that statement be? Nikola Tesla is the true genius. He says Einstein's relativity work is a magnificent mathematical garb which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are brilliant men, but they are metaphysicists rather than scientists. Oh well, thank you, Tesla, for telling us how much bull can be found in Einstein's work, because you knew that way back then. So thank you for reassuring my belief system, right? So, if gravity doesn't exist, then what's the force that pulls us down to the earth? Why do things fall down instead of up? And the answer is electromagnetism.
Researcher and author Anthony Patch states, quote, "In short, the accurate model of the mechanisms governing the functioning of our known universe is that of electromagnetism, not gravity. What is mistaken for and therefore labeled as gravity are in fact, and this has been thoroughly peer-reviewed, magnetic lines of force and the actions of accelerated charged particles moving at various velocities. Additionally, these same electromagnetic forces act in identical fashion, whether one is measuring actions taking place between particles at the quantum level or on a planetary scale. What has been detected by LIGO and other similar experiments preceding it are in fact magnetic lines of force and the movements and actions of accelerated charged particles, such as electrons and protons, among many others. As for black holes, supermassive, twin or otherwise, none have been experimentally reproduced in the laboratory. None have been measured in terms of electromagnetism. None have been moved from the chalkboards of theory to factual and provable constructs nor mechanisms. Many scientists will back me up on this statement. To define what are labeled as black holes, one must look beyond the, again, theoretical labels of dark matter and dark energy, neither of which have been proven to exist, and yet are considered as constructs of black holes. Looking beyond, one finds plasma, what Tesla labeled the ether, comprising the so-called vacuum of space. This ether is electrically charged plasma. Black holes are a gathering due to magnetic attraction of this electric plasma. This is not gravity sucking in all matter and light as mainstream scientists describe black holes. Einstein's work, gravity, was hijacked for profiteering. Tesla's work, the ether and electric universe, is the real science hidden away and employed at CERN.
If you look at their mathematics of gravity, it says that the electrostatic force is 10 to the 37th stronger than the so-called gravitational force. And if you look at 10 with 37 zeros behind it, there's no human that can possibly even imagine what that looks like. I mean, it's beyond human comprehension. So they, these mathematicians love to throw around numbers like this, but they're essentially meaningless. But according to their own screwed up, wrong mathematics, essentially gravity is non-existent with a 10 to the 37th difference. That alone. But this is the problem. This idea of gravitation, which was created by Newton, invented by him, has been extrapolated to the furthest reaches of the solar system and the galaxies and all that. And it's created a huge list of non-existent entities, things like dark energy, dark matter, nuclear furnace stars, gravitational collapse for star formation. I could go on and on. There's dozens of theories based on this false concept of gravity. Black holes. Yes, exactly. I forgot that one. I mean, all these things don't even exist, yet they're part of the mathematics created by Newton and extrapolated to the furthest reaches of the universe. So, I mean, this is the biggest problem with academic science, is that it removed the creator from creation. How can you have a creation without a creator? There is universal mind behind all of this, and that is the impetus for all of it. Like most of their big projects, these huge megalithic projects are designed to be dead ends. They'll go nowhere. Nothing will ever come out of CERN. There's no such thing as a Higgs boson particle. This is all just 100% bull. Einstein was an idiot. He was wrong about everything. If anybody believes Einstein is correct, they need to watch Einstein's Idiots on YouTube, the entire series by Bill Gates. Then I would read his website, youstupidrelativist.com. And then I would go read the book called The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein, which is 2,200 pages demolishing this myth called Einstein. It talks from the very beginning how they set up this shill called Einstein to be the great genius, the nutty professor, the quack, the idiot with a massive blackboard full of equations that can, if he could just figure out that one last little part of an equation, he'll have the key to the freaking universe. So, I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, the level of science right now is really the pit of ignorance.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
This is how far we've sank in this demented excuse for science. I mean, it's a joke, I mean, we're living in a sea of energy. We're bathed in electricity. It's passing through us like crazy. He was able to, in Colorado Springs, he was able to develop this means of creating this resonant electrical lines of force, which you would be able to tap into with your home or your car or whatever. You'd be able to power it wirelessly. And so he wanted, Morgan and these other guys that he was working with at the time to, bring this technology to humanity and give everybody free energy. But that was not allowed. I mean, they were too heavily invested in railroads and oil and coal and timber and all sorts of other stuff that they could burn up and blow up and stuff. So they didn't want to go that route. So we've basically, the powers that be have definitely known what the true physics is since at least then. They've known how to suppress this and keep this out of, the public's view and keep us enslaved into this hideous, explosion-based slave technology that's destroying the world. Free energy already exists. The military is using this stuff. They keep it from us. And, my goal was always to try to get as many people to understand that the so-called thing called free energy actually exists. And then we would get to a point where people would demand that the powers that be release this stuff to us. So it can happen right now. I mean, it's not like it's something that's far off or whatever. The technology exists. The military's got it right now, but it's existed since 1892 at least, and probably further back. And it's obvious, that there were cultures that had this, and this is nothing new. If you look at the megalithic structures around the planet, there's no question that there was a higher tech civilization about 13,000 years ago that got wiped out. They were way, way, way beyond us. We can't do any of the stuff that they're doing. And the reason being is that they worked with nature and we're not. Because look at the beauty of their creations. I mean, have you seen all these megalithic structures around the planet?
When you hear these terms like the satanic music industry, it's not, what is satanic about the music industry? People are using musicianship to affect other people, right? Is that the satanic bit? Is that what they're talking about? I don't disagree with that. That's exactly what's happening. Showmen, people who want to performing artists, want to show themselves to other people and invoke thought and emotions in other people. That's fine. Again, it's what is it you're trying to achieve with it. So people are mixing it up when they say the satanic music industry. No, they'll talk about the sexualization of children within the music industry and say the satanic music industry. No, it's the perversion. It's the perversion. The message that's being portrayed through the artistry is perverse. It's to bring about the sexualization of children. Right, that's what I see. Right, that's what's happening. Right, it's not that the tools being a musician is evil. It's the message, what you're putting out there, what you're trying to achieve. That's the big thing. So I hope that's clear for you to understand. If we talk about greater magic is more about your own transformational psychodrama. Using certain methods in order to get your mind to a place that you want it to be, so that you can achieve certain things. So that's a different aspect of this. I'm just going to focus purely on this and this negative connotation with the word satanic and Satanism. So we have to have clear definitions. We have to have clear understanding of what it is we're talking about. For me, when we're talking about Satanism and these types of things, we're talking about a philosophy, we're talking about literature, we're not talking about criminal behaviour. Slaughtering children and lambs at the altar to some mythical beings is criminal, mentally ill behaviour. So you have to clarify these things and keep them defined as such, right? Remember that you are using these methods and this is how things happen. So we have to align with what it is we're looking for, okay? So for me, my journey has been, I want people empowered, I want people discerning, thinking critically, logically, employing natural science in order to assess the world that they are living in, trust their common senses. So I put that material out there because that's my desire, that's my will, is to have that in the world, right? Because that makes me feel good, makes me secure, right? So I put that out there. So whatever anybody wants to achieve, they employ satanic tools to achieve it, right? You know, the only way to avoid this is to say, well, no, you want to live in total isolation away from any other sentient being, and then you could say, well, you're not employing any satanic type tools because you're not affecting anybody, right? But that's not reality. You live amongst people. So rather than shy away from these things, try and understand them, and then understand the definitions and the separations of these words, and then you can apply them yourself. You can understand yourself more and realise when you are applying it, right? Because you know, many people through ignorance and lack of awareness are applying it in positive ways and in negative ways to each other and to themselves every single day. Okay? So I hope that, you know, I've made it clear and that people break away from this false dichotomy that's been created within the mind through religious institutions of this good guy saviour and this evil guy opposer, because they are mythical beings as far as I'm concerned. You are the power, right? You have the tools here, okay? You can make whatever rules you want for yourself and be subject to your own rules, your own disappointments, your own letdowns, because you're the one that sets up everything in your life. You're in total control of that, right? It's up to you whether you take control of it and whether you want to understand it. You know, what I see with people is people are still coming from a place of fear and ignorance. So when these words are mentioned and that you want to discuss them, people are having these reactions because they're hearing these words and they're having an emotional, impulsive reaction, and then they don't listen to what it is you're actually trying to articulate to them. They just have an image in their mind of who you are, what it is you're about, because of some false delusion that's been implanted in their mind. No being implanted, it's been put there and people have adopted it. Okay? So at an innocent stage in your life, you know, you're an innocent party in this, but as you get older, you become the responsibility. You can't keep blaming some authoritative figure or some external bad guy or good guy for your shortcomings or your achievements, right? It all comes down to you. You are the power. You are the be all and end all. You are the good, the bad, the evil, the ugly. You're the whole lot, right? It's your game. It's your rules, it's your will, it's your intent. Now you have to choose wisely, you have to think about it and what you want to see in this world, because I don't want to see psychopathic criminals ruling this and creating the world that they want, right? I want justice, right? I want freedom, I want love, compassion, understanding. That's what I want for this world. And if you want the same, you need to understand these things and start employing the methods properly and start affecting the world so that you can bring about change. If you don't, then you deserve what you get, right? You can't complain and you cannot sit and blame an external source for it, right? If you're not willing to take responsibility and take action and participate in it, then what are you? You're fucking useless. No point in whining and moaning about it.
So NASA put out a picture today which proves beyond any doubt that I have been correct in not only telling you the moon's projection, but also the source of the projection from the projector, whose name is Satellite Dave J. I'm going to go ahead and show you a picture of that first, and then explain this picture, which was put out by NASA on the 14th of June, which would have been, to your perspective on Earth, a full moon. You can see right here in this picture, that would be the so-called Earth, that would be the so-called atmosphere layer, or the lower atmosphere. This would be in the area of what they claim the International Space Station hoax is at. This is going to be, in numbers, about 250 miles up. Just stick to miles. About 250 miles up, you have this source of the photograph, which is no more than, think of the atmosphere as just a different consistency, but still an ocean or a sea. So if you would like to build a satellite, let's say you want to put a satellite up, right? You don't need, it's not going to space. You don't need thrusters and boosters and none of that nonsense. You're going up into an atmosphere. You're going up into just a different medium. So you would need to then pressurize a cube shape or a cylinder shape, something that you can block off the ends and control the pressure, because you're going to be putting some gas, lighter than air, I would use neon, into that cavity. And on the outside of the cavity, you would put your solar panels, which would then power your unit, but also act as steering. And then you would put stabilization rods out from your cube, which would keep it righted during flight. You could basically swim your camera around in the upper atmosphere or the thermosphere, because you can see it's at the same height. So 250 miles, that's called the thermosphere, as I've told you before. That's where this image shows itself. And then on the where we're at, we see it as this, and you can see it's a projection. You can see that that's not out in space. You can see a cloud moving in front of it. I'll change the focus, and you will see the clouds behind it. That illusion is caused because of the light source. That is a light only. That would not happen if it was a body in space. You can't have both. So let's move on to the picture and show you how much of a hoax it truly is. I find this interesting that it's also the second. It's called the thermosphere, and if you recall, I remember I put out one of my videos and I told people, yeah, the projector and the moon projection are in the thermosphere. They're like, oh, now you're making up stuff. Anyway, man, so if you want to go into the neon and why that would be the gas I'd use, take a look here. It'd be the numbers Y. All right. Then you can also look into the properties of that if that interests you. But moving on, you can see that this is from on board the ISIS, they call it, ISS, at the height of this, and that's right here, 248 miles. That's about as high as you're going to get. Okay. So let's look at that. That right there is a picture from the same angle as this picture, you would say, right? That's from also, but you can see that that's a Photoshop. See the square around the so-called moon? So that moon's just been put in there. Let me show you the latest picture and show you why it's different. That's a real picture. Why? Because when I go over it, look, what you're taking the picture of is there. Had this been all black, it would have been a CGI, but I can actually see the light source at each one of these. Now look again at where they're claiming that that's a rocket. You can see that that's not a rocket, that's a projector pointing at you, not up. Okay? And then that projector in turn projects this. You can see that that's not a moon. You can see that. That's why it looks all fuzzy. It even looks fuzzy down here, and you're wondering, right? This puts a kibosh on all the liars that contend with me about optics. You're wrong. That's a projection, and NASA proved it with this picture. This, man, I couldn't have done any better. This is exactly what I was looking for. Now look behind it if you don't mind. Do you see anything back there? You see anything? Do you see anything? All of you that talk about deep space, where is it? You have nothing but words. Nothing but words. And you look at this, I show you that what I've been telling you is true, and you're still going to bicker with me. You're still going to call me a moron and a Cletus and every other thing. Why is that? Because you don't want to look at what's right in front of you. What they're showing you is real. This is almost funny because it's mocking. It's like, yeah, I'll put this out, and then a few people will see and say, dude, well, that proves it. And everybody else will say, oh, neat picture. Nobody's going to wonder why the moon looks like it's all smeared out. Because it's not a moon. It's just light. Their photoshopped picture proves that. The distance I told you about proves that. Their own description proves that. Okay, so then if this is new to you, you're like, oh my goodness. And then now what you're going to do, I hope, is sit. Don't talk. Sit. And think about what you just saw. Take away all the magical powers of the so-called moon. All the magical powers that you quite literally learned about in the 2nd grade. That's how sub-basement, low-level lie this is. You were told a bunch of magical powers. Oh, it controls the tides and the blah and the blah. Forget about all that nonsense. You have no proof of that. Nor do they. It's called a prevailing theory. And everyone who doesn't jump on the prevailing theory is labeled a moron. So I suggest this to you. All of those that liked to contend with me. And many of you, what's funny is you admit openly. You admit openly, oh, I didn't watch the video. And I feel good about it. Calling that guy a moron. I mean, that's quite literally real comments, you know. Close enough. And so, okay, fine, you don't want to look at this? If you don't look at something, how then do you have an opinion about something? Most people don't want to look at this information I give because it blows everything up. Everything they thought was real. Now, this is a lot bigger than telling you that World War II is a hoax, because it is. Or Sandy hoax, because it is. Or Columbine, or Aurora, or the controlled demolition of 9/11. All contrived and lies. Where nobody died and nobody got hurt. But you'd rather believe in death and fairy tales and tides, regardless of what you see and are presented. It's what you would rather believe in. You have chosen your pantheon of gods. You've put them up on a shelf. And if anybody dare comes up and even looks at them, you're going to have some words for them, aren't you? They're going to be a moron or all kinds of other things. I tell you what you better be looking at. And that is at your own testimony. Salvation is through Jesus Christ alone, through which you are returned to the Father in heaven. You are given the Comforter, through which you will not be lied to, and you cannot lie. So yeah. I'm going to go ahead and leave the end of the world of batshit 2 original video review up, where I go over all of the hard evidences that led up to this picture being released by NASA of a so-called Russian space launch, of which you can now see with a single image that what I have been telling you for now 3 years is in fact true. Not only true, but I've given you the actual proof. And now, before I leave you, I'm going to give you my own picture of the satellite. This is one of those pictures that that I have not seen one person say boo about. Because one, you can see it and it'll be in the description. It's high def. It's my picture of the satellite Dave J, what I call the satellite, basically fish. Just think of a fish in the sky, a mechanical fish, to where you can swim it around. Don't get tied up in all this space jargon with the boosters and all that nonsense. At that altitude, once you put something in motion, it's in motion. You just need to steer it around, man. Anyway, so that's the satellite. You can see the so-called stars in the background are stable. They're not blurred. And then you can see whatever those are. It may be a Jack in the Box. Who knows? Whatever, you can see that they're straight. They're not blurred. That right there is then the satellite, or what's projecting the image. You see, it's pumping out the plasma. Plasma is the colored aurora within a vacuum field, by the way. A satellite. It's called Dave J because nobody else wants it. Now I'm going to show you a picture of what that satellite looks like in action. All right. So first off, last night what I did was I went ahead and I adjusted my camera to allow in as much light as it wanted to, which was about, I guess, about 10 seconds total. So you can see it's basically white. I made it dark by simply just turning down my setting. And you can see it looks perfect. It's like a nighttime image. Now this right here is going to be what's projecting it. As you can tell, it's down right here right there at the center bottom right now. And let's zoom in on it. Okay, I've switched perspectives in a different picture. This is just of the satellite itself in operation, and then on the final image I'll bring it in to where you can actually see the shape of the projection, and you'll see that it's a very recognizable. Okay, I think you can agree that today is the 4th of January. That would be this configuration. Okay, you down for that? Notice this is outside my house right now. That would be a tree, another top of a tree. These would be stars back here. Alright, back in here. See that? That supposedly is that, which of course it's a projection, because that would be this area down here, which of course is facing the wrong direction. Alright, let me explain that to you. I've roughly drawn the line that it should be on, i.e. it should be up and down, not this way, not looking like an eyeball. It should be opening and closing like a door. Alright, now that that's out of the way. This, do you notice here in the background, that whole rest of the projections back there? That's because I can see it as well as you can see it. That means it's a lie. See that? You can't now claim that you don't know that that's a projection, because it's plain as day. Okay, I'd like you to train your eye to the upper left. Okay, we're at ground level, approximately 60 degrees up from the ground level. Alright, at that angle, and I'm going to show you how to discern this projection and explain why that one crater appears to move 180 degrees across the night. And I guess I don't want to say across, because it's across the day as well, but just over the 12-hour period, or give or take, that it's visible to you, if it is. So let me first go in and show you that, and that's going to explain that, because at some point the producer, the satellite that makes this, lost its R, its wrist. In robotics it would be the R, or the rotation, so it can no longer properly rotate to adjust, because it's a lot closer than, you know, what people would call the moon if it was out in space. So in order to correct for that, it had to rotate, right? Well, if that function goes away, it's going to appear to do a corkscrew all night, like literally do 180, and then the southern hemisphere would see a 180. Therefore, over 24 hours, it would do a 360, which is just not right, okay? So anyways, it's literally, man, I'm telling you, it is cold tonight. Anyways, being that we're dealing with kind of like, think of your eyeball, and how it's curved. What's producing this image and why?
Now, instead of looking this as a circle, just think it as an infinite point of without spatial volume. And if we look at it this way, we're more easily able to understand it. We think of this as an indivisible line that actually has no extension. We're talking about unmanifest inertia, or what quantum mechanics and general relativity and their insanity have called dark matter or quantum fluid, which is just nothing other than a euphemism for what Tesla, Heaviside, Steinmetz, Faraday, and all the greats of electrical theory that gave us 100% of our current electrical grid and system. Einstein gave us nothing of that. Nothing. Okay? He invented nothing, he discovered nothing, and his quote-unquote theory of relativity is mostly stolen from Henry Poincaré. Now, as you've seen underneath the ferrocell, a magnet, doesn't matter what shape it is, looks exactly like this. It looks like a torus. Let me show it to you in a slightly uncompressed fashion. There you go. You actually see a torus, a toroid, a spirograph, a hypertrochoid. That's the expression of the loss of inertia. Now, as Faraday called magnetism, he called it the dielectric field. But what does that mean specifically? It means that the necessitated loss of inertia, i.e. the ether, must be expressed as the creation of space, and of course the posterior attribute of the creation of space is a measure of movements of magnitude, which we call time, but of course time does not exist. Time is a human contrivance. Now here we have electricity, which, by the way, is phi times psi q in Planck electrification. Electricity is nothing other than the hybrid of electricity and magnetism operating together, which is found in, obviously, frequency and amplitude, constantly pulsing back and forth like this. Well, what frequency? What amplitude? Obviously, we have the entire EM spectrum, and we have electricity. So electricity is a hybrid of dielectricity and of magnetism, operating at a frequency and an amplitude. So electricity terminates not into magnetism as wrongly thought, but as magnetism by losing its dielectric component. In other words, all that electricity that is actually brought through electromagnet to lift up dead cars so they could be scrapped is nothing other than the loss of the dielectric component of electricity, which means you have an extremely high Gauss field that is able to pick up multi-ton cars with that electromagnet. It is that electricity terminates as magnetism by losing its dielectric component, not into magnetism, but as magnetism, because electricity is the hybrid of dielectricity and magnetism. Phi times psi equals Q, Planck, and electrification. Electricity, by definition, denotatively, is a combination of two things, dielectricity and magnetism. So by losing its dielectric component, the electricity manifests itself in the electromagnet, for example, as a huge, enormous, very powerful high Gauss magnetic field. Gravity, like electricity, is nothing other than a hybrid. So what is gravity? Well, we talk about what denotes gravity. We're talking about mass, i.e. matter. Matter is nothing more than a dielectric condensate. Okay? It's like taking carbon dioxide and freezing it to its solid state. Okay? Gravity is nothing other than dielectricity. Gravity is no different than turning on your TV set and actually shining a light off from the side and seeing the little dust particles actually head to the TV set and stick to the TV set. That's why your front of your TV set, especially little CRT tubes, got so dusty. The dust in the air would go gravitate to the front of the tube. That is the exact same thing as gravity. People think that that is an electrostatic charge, or like you charge a balloon up and you pull someone's hair to it. That same acceleration, not force, that same acceleration is what we ignorantly call gravity. Gravity itself is an autonomous acceleration, of which a lot of people call it incorrectly a force, does not exist. It's like, what do you mean gravity doesn't exist? All of a sudden you drop this and there's gravity.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question. Stupid gravity.
What I mean specifically is that gravity does not exist. It is not an autonomous force. It's definitely not a force, which of course even the idiots of general relativity and quantum mechanics will admit to. They call it an acceleration. But an acceleration of what? By what? We need explanations, not descriptions. And all that general relativity and quantum mechanics provides are descriptions, not explanations. It is a dielectric acceleration. It's dielectric avoidance. Okay, it is the loss of force and motion. 100% of the visible universe is magnetism. Okay, the entire atomic structure of an atom in picometers, as it measured in picometers, is due to magnetism. So dielectricity, electrostatics, electricity, magnetism, and quote-unquote gravity are one thing only. It's our only pathetic human understanding of the nature of the universe that we think these are four separate things. Really, they're just one thing. Uncovering the missing secrets of magnetism. Here we have a standard CRT tube with a grid with a spiral projected onto it, which is being taken off of an old camcorder that's pointing at a wall with a grid on it with a, you can see, a clockwise spiral. So I have this camera, old camera, hooked into an old television set, taking a look at a clockwise spiral. Now let's take an enormous 2-inch by 1-inch N45 neodymium iron boron magnet, and let's show you centripetal and centrifugal vortex movements as we approach the CRT tube. Here we go with a magnet. Now, let's discuss this in a second, but first, let's look at what's at the center here. Can you see what's at the center? You see those scintillating hairs that are moving off in a clockwise direction? Okay, now let's flip the magnet the other direction, and let's see what sort of spot we get on our CRT tube this way. Oh, surprise, surprise, look. We're getting counterclockwise movement. I don't know if you can see that very clearly. There we go. Take a look at that. Now, how do I know which polarity I have pointed here? Well, let's zoom out and take a look at our magnet. Now we have, of course, a clockwise pattern projected from the camera, from the camcorder to the television set. So let's see what this side of the magnet does to a clockwise spiral on the CRT. It moves it in the same direction. And look at the edge definition of where the black void is, because the black void is being caused by the centrifugal magnetic velocity. Here you can see the little spirals in the center of the white spot in the middle with the, you can see that we're moving, our centrifugal field is moving clockwise, but our centripetal field, which is at the middle of the magnet, is moving exactly opposite. It is moving counterclockwise. And we'll do a lot more CRT demonstrations showing quote-unquote repulsion and quote-unquote attraction of magnets against the CRT tube, which is emitting dielectric lines of force that are contacting the phosphorus on the inside of the tube. That is why the magnet is such a great demonstrator against the CRT tube. And this is the first example you've ever seen of someone proving beyond any shadow of a doubt using a CRT tube that the centrifugal on a magnet, meaning the outside rim edge of the magnet, is moving absolutely opposite to the center of the magnet, the centripetal returning. And I used it using a geometric projection from the camcorder off of a grid paper on the wall. Now let's actually turn these magnets end on. Oh my God, look at that. It looks like a single magnet, but this is actually two. In other words, when you look at either pole like that, you'll look exactly the same thing underneath the ferrocell as it does with one magnet. Oh, how shocking. That would be a proof of a Platonic incommensurability. But this is the exact same thing the report in their own video is seeing. You actually see a vortex of binary objects rotating around a point, a null point of maximum acceleration and inertia. Is this any proof of Einstein's gravity waves? No, it's simplex electromagnetic theory. It's very, very simplex electromagnetic theory. This doesn't prove Einstein at all. It actually, all it does is it reinforces Tesla, reinforces James Clerk Maxwell. You see, Einstein didn't invent a damn thing. And what little ideas he did have, he stole from Henri Poincaré and others. There's actually many books out there about that. This is just classical electromagnetic field theory that explains the observations of Tesla and Maxwell. I mean, these idiots spent millions and millions of dollars, and they want millions of more funding, which is why they made a huge press announcement. because they want more money for more funding, because that will, pad their jobs for the next 20 years. And they're going to be looking for something that has already been explained 80 years ago by classical electromagnetic theory. Well, my God, let's reinvent the wheel and ask for a bunch of money for it. So today's huge scientific announcement was nothing other than a pile of crap by a bunch of brainless scientists with more money and more gear than brains, looking for plenty of funding to keep their asses in work. Oh my God, what a timeless story of stupidity and ignorance and deception.
I know that, there was so many other aspects that I wanted to add into this, and I'm sure that some people are still going to misinterpret the message that I'm actually saying, So if that is the case, I'm going to upload this anyway, and I'm going to add this wee bit on at the end. And if you're still misunderstanding, if you want to discuss this further with me in order to gain some understanding, then please be my guest. You can join us on Saturday or through the week. You can send an email to nocurve@gmx.com and you can come in and you can have that discussion. For me, it's healthy. I want people to understand these things, right? Rather than being, swayed and influenced by propaganda, fear-mongering, buzzwords. It's not doing anybody any, justice at all. It's just sowing confusion and division amongst people, right? So what you need to discern is what people's intents are, right? Know what their tattoos are, or what somebody else says about them, or, any of the hearsay or propaganda, right? You have to understand the intent, right? So I hope that I've cleared that up for you, As I say, we have these tools. It's just a matter of what we're going to, try and achieve with them, right? And I know I'm waffling here at the end. It's just because I'm trying to rack my brain just to make sure that I've covered the points I wanted to cover properly, and try and get this message across to you. So don't be scared of these things. Just try and understand them for what they are. You are. Under the definitions that are there, you are a practicing Satanist, and so is everybody else, regardless of whether they want to accept it or be aware of it. It doesn't matter. That's what they're doing. Okay? You're invoking and using them every single day, through every minute of every day. So you need to become conscious of that, take responsibility, and apply it properly. So, peace, people.
If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed, hit the red subscribe button. Also click on the little bell icon to get notifications of my flat earth videos, which I upload every day.
And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.